The foreign minister of Australia met China's highest-ranking diplomat during the sidelines of the ASEAN summit in Indonesia. Sheina Selim has the news.
Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong held talks with Chinese Communist Party's Foreign Affairs Director Wang Yi for almost an hour on the sidelines of the East Asia Foreign Ministers Summit in Jakarta. Senator Wong told his Chinese counterpart Australia expects more movement from Beijing on its crippling trade restrictions as a result of years of a multi-billion-dollar trade war between the two countries. It was the fourth meeting between the two officials since Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese took power. Both leaders discussed trade barriers imposed by Beijing on Australian exports and the jailing of Australian citizens in China. The latest meeting is seen as a critical development ahead of Albanese's planned visit to Beijing, which will be the first by an Australian leader since 2016. As Wong visited Indonesia, the Australian Prime Minister, on the other hand, joined the world leaders for a two-day NATO summit in Lithuania, where he promised to give Ukraine additional 30 Bushmaster military vehicles. Senator Wong's visit to Jakarta came a week after Indonesian President Joko Widodo visited Australia for a bilateral visit. Reporting from New South Wales, this is Sheina Selim, SM9 News, Australia.
The Prime Minister of Solomon Islands lavished China with praises after his week-long trip to the Chinese capital. The details from Saja Hassa.
Solomon Islands Prime Minister Manasseh Sugawara praised China for having no strategic interests in the Pacific and suggested the global economic powerhouse has been treated unfairly by the West. Sugawara commended China for making sovereign decisions based on its own national interest. His week-long trip to Beijing resulted in the signing of new agreements, including the implementation of a police cooperation agreement, which sparked concerns among Western nations, including the United States and Australia. Canberra urged Solomon Islands to publish details of the policing deal with Beijing that allows China to maintain a security presence in the tiny island nation until 2025. Saying it is concerned the deal will invite a regional contest in the Pacific. Sugawara, on the other hand, rejected suggestions by Australia and the United States that the policing deal it signed with Beijing is a threat to the Pacific region peace. The Solomon Islands leader believes China will play an important role in enhancing the capability of its 1,500 police officers in cybersecurity and community policing in the tiny island nation of more than 700,000 people. The Solomon Islands will host the Pacific Games in November to be held in a stadium constructed by Beijing, while dozens of athletes are scheduled to fly to China this week for training. Reporting from Sydney, this has been Sasha Hassa, SM9 News, Australia.
Thailand's election body defended its decision to forward Thailand's front-runner prime minister's case to the Constitutional Court. Chatmokol Pisumay Goson reports.
The Election Commission insisted it has strictly followed the law when it presented Move Forward Party leader Pita Limjaroenrat's ineligibility case to the Constitutional Court earlier this week.
The election body made the remark after Pita complained of being unfairly treated by the election body without giving him a chance to defend himself. The Move Forward Party leader said he understands the intention of the law that bans politicians to use media as a political weapon, but argued that the ITV channel where he held thousands of shares inherited from his father is operating a long time ago and is not earning any revenue. The reformist candidate believes there are attempts to block their eight-party coalition from forming a new government through various tricks. Meanwhile, the Election Commission responded to the criticisms, stating it has strictly followed Section 82 of the Constitution, which authorized it to immediately forward the case to the Constitutional Court once the election body is convinced by the evidence that an MP status has become invalid due to a reason stated in the Constitution. It added that it hasn't rushed the investigation surrounding the case and that it is not in a position to make the final judgment. It can be remembered that Pita lost his bid to be officially elected as the next Prime Minister of Thailand after it did not secure enough votes during the parliament vote held on Thursday.
Amid the temporary setback, Pita said he won't give up while his Move Forward party will re-strategize to win the next round of voting for premier in the parliament next week. รายงานจากกรุงเทพมหานคร นายชัดมงคลพิสมัยโกศล ASEAN News ประเทศไทย สวัสดีครับ